Welcome to part 5 of Bitovi Academy's Learn Docker training. Last chapter, we wrote our Docker file. In this video, we're going to build and run our image. To build our Docker file into an image, we'll use the docker build command. We'll pass in the -t flag and name our image my node app and give it the latest tag. We'll also pass in a dot telling Docker where to find our Docker file. Now that we've built our image, we can view our images with docker image ls. You'll see we actually have two images here. We have my node app with the latest tag, that's the one we just built, as well as the node image with the 15 tag. That's because we've defined node 15 as our base image. We can run our container with the docker run command. We'll pass in the name flag to name our container, my container, and we'll pass in the -p flag to port map our local machines port 8000 to the containers port 8000. Then we'll pass in the -d flag to run it in detached mode. Lastly, we need to tell Docker that we want to run my node app latest. And that's it. If we open up a browser to localhost port 8000, we should see hello world. We can see all of our running Docker containers by running docker ps. Here we can see our my node app latest image and then with the name my container. Using the container name my container, we can view logs for our container with docker logs and then the container name. And then we can kill our container by running docker rm-f and then pass in my container. Now if we run docker ps again, you'll see our container has been stopped. Our application is running on port 8000 because in our Docker file, we're setting the port argument with the default value of 8000 and then passing that into our application as an environment variable. We can customize that port with the -e flag for environment when running our Docker image. So now if we run docker run, again calling it my container, and then we pass in the -e flag, setting its value to, let's call it 9000 this time. And then we'll map our local port 8000 to the containers port 9000 and run it in detached mode and tell it to run my node app latest. And then if we look at the logs for my container, you can see it's actually running on localhost 9000. But because we've still mapped the container's active port, in this case 9000, to our host machine's port 8000, we'll still access our application from the browser by going to localhost port 8000. And that's the basics of building and running a Docker image. In its current state, making changes to our code would be horribly inefficient. If we go here and we change a file, then nodemon doesn't automatically pick up our changes here. We would have to destroy and recreate our image, which would waste a lot of time. In the next chapter, we're going to look at using volumes to make local development far more efficient.